I've recently done some additions and modifications to my Carpentry tool belt, and I'm pretty happy with the way it's set up right now, so I figured I'd share what I've done to this. So, for my right side, this is actually an electrician's pouch, but I like it because I carry a lot of vertical tools in here. I have a little level, I have a small square, got one of these, a carpenter's rule, little pry bar, chisel, and those all fit really nicely. These are great for storing tools, because you notice they're all long, so if you have a big pocket, they all sort of get jumbled up. This is a new addition, this Oxy Occidental leather plastic case, so you can carry a chisel and not cut up your pouch. That's been great. Having a chisel is really useful to have. Got utility knife. This one, so far, it's the best one I've found for a reasonable price. Push the button, you can open up, change the blade. So toolless blade change without that fiddly button that you're trying to push with the razor sharp thing to get it to stuff in there. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's a little bit bigger and bulkier than what I'd like, but I really like the blade change on it. In here, this was an addition, I made a little pouch for pencils. Having pencils on the outside is a great way to break pencils. You notice I use what appears to be just regular pencils, not carpenter's pencils. I like number 3 regular pencils. Carpenter pencils are okay, but you can only fit so many. I can have 3 pencils in the spot I could only fit 1. I don't think I'd fit 2 in there. So anyways, I got regular pencils. They sharpen up nice. The number 3 lasts a long time, but it's still visible on the wood. I have, since electricians don't, well, they have pliers, so they don't need hammers. I've got my hammer loop and stiletto hammer. Around the back, I have another pouch. This one mostly sits empty, but I do occasionally put sticks of nails in it for whatever nail gun I'm using. So this is anything I'm grabbing out of very often. And then this side, got a big pouch. This is also a new pouch edition. It's got the speed square slot. I had been using my back pocket, which works pretty good most times of the year, but in the wintertime, if you have a coat, it's a real pain to get to your back pocket. And then this was a mystery also, where do I put this thing? Because I had it over in this side, and it would fall down to the bottom, and it would take me, a couple of, felt like minutes to fish it out, probably just a couple of seconds, 30 seconds, but that's a long time to just fish out one tool. So that sits over here now. And then I've got my 2 pouches that I keep fasteners in. So this would be what I'm currently using. So I've got some big headlocks from this project, and I've also got regular 3-inch screws. These tend to get jumbled up. Like I've also got roofing nails in here because I was installing a window, I didn't empty out the pouch, so eventually they get all tangled up. I do like to carry around just a few sixes if you need to put up like a chalk line. It's great to have a couple of little nails. Here is where my pencils are expected to go, but I probably can't. Oh, actually, let me get out my Leatherman. Also a new addition to my tool thing, or just everyday care. Leatherman is great. There is a broken pencil stub in there because I leaned against something here and just broke the pencil. I didn't even catch it on anything. So you go through pencils like crazy when they're on the outside. Okay, this also has a hammer loop. I'll use that like if I have to carry a hammer tacker or sort of an auxiliary thing. Got a nail set. I had this pouch on my right side. I tried that for a little while, but the tape measure holder was way too low. I had to bend down and wreck my posture to reach down to get the tape measure out, so that's no good at all. Over here, it's good high height, just lift that up. No problem, we're good to go. Other little things here. Oh yeah, this thing, little magnetic tool holder. Really, if you leave things on there for any length of time, they just fall off. But if you need to quickly, like, carry 3 screws up because you're going to be screwing, just using one type of different screw, or 4 screws up, you just put them on there, you carry them up, you don't clutter up your pouch. If you drop them in with all the other screws, you'll then never find them again. Oh, another thing, I have this tool hook. It's kind of annoying. It gets caught on stuff, but it's also really useful sometimes. So I have an extra bit in here, a spider drive bit for the headlocks. And before, my other Ryobi didn't have this tool hook, so I could hang stuff on it. So it works okay. It's kind of annoying. It always seems like it catches on stuff fairly often. But I can also hang stuff on there, like I've hung my my cordless skill saw on here and nail guns. It's a useful thing to have. Yeah, this little guy. These 2 little things. So, little square, that's really useful for doing like trim work and setting a depth and that sort of stuff. This little pry bar is great. Use it all sorts of stuff. Little cat's paw on this end, flat bar on this side, so you get a wide area to lift or move. They have them similar to this with a cat's paw on both ends, and those would certainly be useful for some stuff, having this on both ends. But I think overall I find this wide, flat pry bar on this side more useful. So this gets quite a lot of use. I'm always grabbing it to pry or move or whatever. So this is a really useful tool. One problem is all these tools are kind of heavy, adding up, because I don't always need the chisel, I don't always need the little level or all this other stuff. So I want to make a little handheld toolbox that I can put extras of this stuff in here. So maybe put an extra utility knife, some chalk for my chalk line, a few extra pencils, a tape measure, just have a sort of redundant from this, and I can also drop off stuff that I'm not going to be using. Like, you know, the chisel's fairly heavy, and I don't use it all the time, but for certain stuff it's really useful to have. So we have a place I can unload some of these tools, so it's not quite as heavy. Oh yeah, tape measure. I like the Stanley Max. I know they have the Fat Max and then the regular Power Lock, but the Fat Max is almost too big and bulky. But the Max has this nice head that you can grab for more angles than like the regular Stanley Power Lock. The Fat Max just seems too bulky, but I almost don't have these anywhere for the in-between Stanley Max. Just the Swanson Speed Square. I like these little scribe marks. They're kind of a pain to use, but they can also be useful. So, you know, they're not necessarily fantastic when you're using it, but if you want to draw a line at an inch or inch and 3/4 or whatever, it helps. Or how else you do it besides snapping a line. Yeah, chalk line, just a cheapo Irwin straight line, blue chalk 1:1, just really basic. Yeah. Stiletto, titanium hammer. I'm not convinced that the titanium makes things better as far as like nailing performance versus say a 14-ounce steel. I'm not convinced about that, because it seems like metal's metal, and if it's hard and it's moving the same speed, it should drive nails about the same. But I do really like the lightweight and the long length. This is a fantastic hammer to nail with. And as far as speed goes, at the Marlborough Fair, our local fair, which a tiny town, 400 something people, one of the main events is a nail pounding competition, and it got so that they stopped people from bringing these, and now they all have wearing a standard or using a standard hammer. Also, my brother used a heavy blacksmithing hammer that also worked well, but having the lighter hammer makes no real difference as far as nail driving speed. It's just easier on your arm and your wrist. drive nails just as fast with one of these. The only exception is if you're driving really, really big, heavy nails, you can almost feel it bounce off and not push. And I think that's because it's too light. But we're talking like 5-inch, big fat nails that you're driving in, not 16 penny nails, but even 20 pennies, just giant spikes. This just doesn't have the mass. So, but for regular framing nails, this does great. I also recently got these earplugs on a headband, hearing protection. So I decided that I like my hearing, and a lot of times I find myself not wearing hearing protection when I'm doing carpentry stuff. It's just a quick cut with the skill saw, and getting a pair of earmuffs is, it takes time, and where do you leave them, and it's just takes time, and I'm usually in a hurry. So, or earplugs, they take a long time to roll up, or you have to wear them all the time. So I decided to try out these. You just go around your neck, and they stay there pretty nicely, and you can just quickly drop them into your ears. They aren't as comfortable, like, long term as earmuffs, because if you bump them, they can be, they're right stuck in your ears, and they're kind of annoying. But they go on really quick, and they're light and easy, and they certainly help. You need to cut a couple of boards with your skill saw. You just pop them in, cut it, or for some reason, like, cutting plywood is super loud on a saw, so just zip them in, make your cut, and you're off and going. I have seen some people wear these coming in from behind, and that kind of works. But if you notice, these are angled, and if you put them on from the front, they angle forward, and that's the direction your ear canal angles, so they seem like they seal better coming in from the front. And then they can clip right up onto there when I'm storing my tool belt.